Okay, boys and girls, and everybody else, I got a Carvin MTS 3200. This amp looks like the 90s. I don't know if it is or not. Let's see. It's got a spring reverb tank. It's got what is said to be British series speakers. British series, probably just Carvin stock speakers. There is a foot switch in there. It's allegedly 100 watts output. It's got what, 3 12AX7s listed, and then 6 L6GCs, 4 of them. So this should be an 80 to 100 watt amp, probably. Yep. Now it's said to start off sounding okay, and then after it's been on for a while, the sound degrades and it sounds not so hot. So usually when you start getting things getting fizzy and fuzzy or whatever, if it's not a tube, it's a power supply. So let's dig into this and see what we see. Okay, so believe it or not, the schematic for this thing is online. You can get it right off of Carvin's website. Go figure that one. Alright, so we've got actually like more filtration capacitors than we even need. I looked at the circuit, it's crazy. So we got 6 of these. They're 22 500 volts. I think that symbol is United Chemicon, which isn't a terrible capacitor, but they're from the 90s and it's acting wonky. So, you know, 20-some-year-old electrolytic capacitors on a machine that's acting wonky should probably be due for a cap job. Yeah, and we've got all these gold caps over here, whatever the world they are. Looks like they used radials everywhere except for there, but they actually did make a, you know, reasonable attempt at some build quality. Like, take a look. See these resistors, the big resistors, have the metal, stiff, rigid legs. So they stand up off the board. They're securely soldered to the board, but they stand up away from the board so they can dissipate their heat. Those solder joints are still good. Fender, learn something, please. Learn how to do that. Buy this part, not the ones you do use. Buy this one instead. You're going to make very, very many hot rod something or other owners a lot happier. I'm telling you, people. Alright, so cap job, clean, pots. Then we're going to test tubes. I don't like the power tubes that were in this. Not because they're bad power tubes, but I have my reasons. But yet, if they're not bad or not broken, I don't know that I want to change them. Okay, so we have to remove all of the nuts off the front of the pots and remove a couple of the plugs that go to the transformer into the other board, and it slides back and flips over. It's not easy, but it's not extremely frustrating. Let's put it that way. And our neighborhood amp repair guy decided to stamp his name all over here. Your selection of tubes for this sucked. I'm going to show everybody why. Alright, so filter caps all through here. And I think they're going to be straightforward to desolder now that we got our magic toy. Okay, so while we wait for the desoldering iron to heat up, again, this is not high praise because I still don't love amps made on PC boards, but this is actually some reasonable design choices. These are high power points. We have a relatively good size landing pad there, so you can actually have a reasonably good soldering blob and get a reasonably good hold there. There's our ground plane. They probably could have done those a little bigger. But again, this is not terrible. This is not idiocy. We use, for a lot of the grounding planes, we use a larger area here, you know. Some of these traces are kind of thin, but for anything that carries power, they used a wider trace. You know, somebody was thinking here, like, you know, let's see if we can make an amp that's actually, like, you know, somewhat reliable. It's like somebody from PV in the 80s came over and said, hey guys, I got an idea. How come that didn't melt? Just like magic solder or something that's 4 million degrees. Okay, anything kind I might have said earlier, you need to scratch that. Do you see this? It's a capacitor, and it's right in the center of the tube socket. Number one, that's a dumb place to put one because it's going to get hotter there. Duh. And number two is the only way to get to the other side of it to remove it is to remove the socket and or molest the capacitor, cut it off, and just try to tie into the legs like a slug. Yeah, not good. Not good. Not good. You guys were doing so good, and then you did this. Okay, so like a magic miracle, we have new electrolytic caps all everywheres. Mismatched brands here and there because I used what I had in the store stock. And the only way one is going to get this tube socket off to remove this capacitor the pretty way would be to really probably cut it off. The way this board is designed, there's a via, so there's the solder flows all the way through the board, so there's a very, very good bond, which is great for longevity, difficult for taking things apart and putting things back together. So yeah, you'd probably have to destroy that socket and replace it with a new one, and that is more than we wanted to do, so I opted to destroy the capacitor and then put this one up a little bit higher. Choices you have to make, but we've replaced everything with same value, same or better voltage, pretty much, real close if not exact. Went up on the voltages a little bit, you know, the usual. Resoldered the all the pots there, cleaned all the pots, reflowed, soldered on all the tube sockets, you know. I think we're good. Okay, here's where the questions start. Now, first of all, this is a short base 6L6. This is one of those Sovtech things. That's, you know, a Sovtech 5881 6L6. Fine. Okay. There's no writing on it, except for what Buddy doodled on it, what apparently he got out of his tester. There's another one of them. Now, these can't be the original tubes because they don't fit in the bear traps. You know, this amp has the bear traps on the bottom, you know. And then we have a Mesa branded one, so did they just replace one tube, or were these all, I mean, they're all the same make. Were these all Mesas and then you just rub the letters off? Buddy. I guess we'll test them and see if they are crap. So for matching value, we got 7, 7, and that's fine. 7's good. You know, usually I see these things at like 8 to 9, but, you know, worn, but still usable. 7, 7, 8, 6. Beautiful. Okay, so we're running at, I don't know, 90% voltage, and we're making sound, and both channels work, and all of that stuff. So at this point, I don't think we blew anything up. So I suppose we'll get it switched to full power, see where our bias is at, and then roll from there. Yeah, see what I was talking about with unbalanced tubes. These puppies are running close to 500 volts, and one of our tubes there is pulling 25 milliamps, and the other one's pulling like 30 to 31. The 31 is that Mesa tube, which showed the strongest one of the batch. Again, since Buddy likes to run this with 2 tubes, you know, run the 2-tube version or whatever, so you get 50 watts rather than 100, let's try to get the closest match we can in the middle. Okay, so we've tweaked things so we're running closer to 35 milliamps, which is just shy of 60% bias. We were running down in like the 40s before, and we know these amps can sound, well, amps in general can just sound a little muddy and crappy and crossover-y when you're down that low. I know factories do it to save tubes, but I mean, you want to get into 50, 55. If you watch, Uncle Doug's actually got a video about that, showing the crossover distortion and what you're listening to and your maximum powers and all of that stuff. So, yeah, this is more better. Okay, so the foot switch works too. Yay. I've got it on the lower power 50 watt mode, and it's still plenty loud. So yeah, let's see here. So there's like no sound. About 1/2 maybe. 1 is adequately loud. 2 is loud and big. And you can keep going until you make your neighbors angry. So reverb is at what, 30%? So it goes all the way into... long tail, but it doesn't drip, so it's not a heavily driven reverb, so that's fine. And then our drive channel, it has a lot of gain. Our gain is at half. The volume is at really low. Remember how to do it all the way on this guitar. It's actually a very quiet amp on the clean channel. That drive channel's thick and has a lot of attitude, so that's kind of cool if you want something thick with attitude. But the reality is I guess after you play this for a little bit, it would pop and tick and act weird and do strange things, and that all just points to the things that happen when your amp is 25 years old and needs a service. So we'll continue to sort of monitor this, play with it a little bit more, make sure nothing goes janky or wild, but as far as I can tell, we're in good shape. Funny enough, I actually do kind of like that ridiculous... My job is not to play the crap out of the customer's amps, except for testing to make sure they don't blow up. So I think that's been accomplished. We'll just keep fiddling with it a little bit, let it run for a spell, make sure everything's happy and healthy. But I don't know, sounds happy and healthy to me. And of course, I'm sure somebody in the comment section is going to go, "Oh man, it sounds." Trust me, the microphone in this camera is rubbish. You can't tell what it sounds like. You could come in person and listen to it, and then you still might not like it because it's not your style. But as far as sounding healthy versus sick, it sounds healthy now, like it actually wants to make some tone. And knowing the owner, it's probably going to be more of a clean amp anyway. And the clean on this is really, really clean, so that you could easily pop a drive pedal on there and get, you know, a variety of sounds if you find the lead channel has too much attitude for you. Let's see what the lead channel... So there's the lead channel with minimum attitude. So a little underwater. So we'll bring up our treble and bring up our presence. Actually works as kind of a light drive. That actually works as a light drive. And it's not making me deaf. Yeah. And everybody's like, "You're an awful guitar player," and I kind of can be, but that's the way it is. But yeah, if I take the drive way down and bring the treble up, it comes out from being underwater, and it's actually useful as a light drive. Bring the drive up a little bit more. Now, we got too much treble. There we go. The song. I don't remember half of the songs, but yeah, this is cool. Actually, I'm surprised that, like a light drive, there's enough leeway in the tone stack that you can work with a light drive or a ridiculously heavy drive. I can see what they were going for. You know, I can see what they were going for. So that said, that's enough of bad guitar playing and staring at this amp. We've done the repair. The world is a happy place. Have a great day. Bye.